Hello and welcome. I'm so pleased to introduce my guest to you tonight. I'm sitting with Tene Wells. You may have heard of her. She's been around as a leader in our nonprofit world a long time here in Minnesota. She is the new executive director of the Minneapolis Television Network. She started in July, and so we're getting to learn about her goals and her mission for MTN. For those of you who aren't aware of MTN, we're going to give you a little bit of history. It started in 1983, franchised with Rogers Cable Systems. And so we've been around a long time. But I think I heard George Stoney, who was the executive director of the National Cable Association years ago, and he said, cable people have to do more to share with the public what they are doing. He said you can have the best programming in the world, but if people don't know about it. And so part of what we're doing tonight is to tell you some about the programming here at MTN also. But welcome, Tene.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here with you.
Your personal story is such a fascinating one. I read some about her in Forbes magazine this weekend. So you've been the executive director for 10 years of Women Venture, and I think most everyone who's lived in Minnesota a long time knows about Women Venture.
I was a client as well.
Were you a client before you were director? Tell us, just give us a description for those who don't know about it, what Women Venture was and is.
Is an economic development organization for women. It's had been around for almost 40 years, one of those early organizations that came out of Minnesota that really helped women become economically successful and prosperous by starting their own business or finding a job in a non-traditional employment area, or just really getting the courage to kind of go out and do what it is that you're supposed to do as women. So it's got a long history of really doing good stuff in Minnesota.
And it came about, I had forgotten this and then remembered it as I read more about it this weekend, but it came about when Chart and Wedco merged, which was a really smart idea, I bet, in retrospect.
And historically, one of the first nonprofit mergers, if you would.
Yes,
it was
that's
really
what I heard.
kind of ahead of its time, and sort of then really bringing the resources of both organizations together for the economic development work that they had to do was very, very smart.
And who's now at the helm?
You know, this is really funny. I don't know.
Okay.
I have absolutely no idea. I think there's been quite a few executive directors since I left.
So they're going through some transitions.
Yeah, a lot of transitions, and the organization I think, has more of a business development focus now, but I don't keep tabs.
Well, when you left, it was in 2009, correct? And it was so interesting to me. You took a little time out, so not a sabbatical exactly, but time to rethink what you wanted to do for the rest of your life.
Right.
And how, just in a short summary, how did that process work? Because I think a lot of people talk about wanting to do that and yet don't do it.
Well, I left in 2009, as sometimes nonprofit executives and their boards kind of have a difference of opinion, and we did. I really, however, from a trip that I took actually to Africa, to Tanzania, where I really looked at the fact that poor people needed to really think about different economic systems. And I wasn't really sure that the economic system and the way that Women Venture was doing economic development was as advantageous as some of the other models. So I wanted to become a social entrepreneur, but not in the sense of how we typically think of being a social entrepreneur, running a nonprofit or creating a revenue generation strategy within that nonprofit, although I've done that, or when we think of corporations giving. So we really kind of think about it differently, and what I was really interested in was what was a model of economic development that poor people can create to generate their own assets and their own resources. And I got an opportunity to go to Tanzania and meet some women at the base base of Mount Kilimanjaro that started a bank in a box. And really a group of 27 women got together and they put their little 20 cents a week in the box and they started making their own loans. And by the time I met these women, they were paying themselves quarterly dividends. We put $180 in the bank and tripled the bank, and that was my Oprah Winfrey moment, you know, where these women came around me and recognized what we had done. And I really came back and said that all poor people have the ability to be able to change the way they think about their own economic situation to be successful, and that wasn't happening in a women venture. So I didn't know really what I was going to do or how I was going to do it, but luckily I got a Bush Foundation Fellowship for a couple of years.
Fabulous.
Which was fabulous,
isn't
and
it? Yes.
you only get the opportunity to really go back and be reflective and to do all the kinds of things that, you know, on Friday afternoons I'd go read economic development documents that were sealed in Congress in the Minneapolis Public Library. Like I read the Moynihan Report, which started the whole welfare thing. Anyways, that's a total aside. But again, you just don't get this. And then, of course, the big deal was I got to go to South Africa. I got to look out Nelson Mandela's window. And I wanted to look out his window because I knew if he could see where his life was going by looking out that window, that if I could look out that window, I would too, and I did.
So
and
did you meet him?
Well, Mandela, I went in 2014, and Mandela was at that time, in June of that year, was when the lung problem that he had came back, and he died in November. But he was still alive when I was there. I met his daughters. I prayed for him on Friday. I got to spend time in his house and in his jail cell.
So
and
you
so
were
his vibes were very much
by
with me.
that visit, I bet, in a big way.
Right. So really an opportunity to really try to transform how you looked at things, and the fellowship also gave me an opportunity to go back and get my master's. So I went to Humphrey and I got a master's in social economics and social entrepreneurship and design and creativity. Took those kinds of courses and really kind of came out and said, okay, now. So I graduated in December. And
This past December 2015? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's just a fascinating evolution, isn't it? And in some ways, do you feel that leaving Women Venture then was a good thing?
Oh, it was a
because
fabulous
it
thing.
opened up all this
It was a fabulous
new
thing.
thinking.
It
and
was fabulous.
change.
Yeah. This would not have happened, and you know how we get comfortable as executive directors of nonprofits, and we go and we do good stuff and we really get kind of comfortable, and I'm not that kind of person. I'm really a social, I'm an entrepreneur. That means, you know, I like to get in, change things, and get out and leave it for the better. So
I happened to overhear some news analysts just in the last few days say the largest group of entrepreneurs right now in our country are women of color. And I thought that is an interesting thing to know and to realize. You certainly.
Well, I think it has a lot to do with this economic theory that I have, and that is that if you have a few resources and you figure out how to put those resources together to bring value to yourself individually, to an organization, to a community, I think you have to be creative. I mean, that's why I took classes in creativity and marketing design. That's why I was really interested in social media, is because we've got to figure that out. And if we as people of color or black people or any marginalized population that doesn't have access to the billions of dollars that other people have, you've got to figure out how to do it differently and
work with the system. And
you've got to create your own system, and so that's not a surprise to me, I think.
Well, MTN, I must say, is very fortunate to have you land here. For those of you who don't know about MTN, how do you describe it to people that you meet on an airplane or you meet at a party who are saying, MTN, let's see now. There's MCN, there's MTN. Tell us what it is.
Well, I think public access television is the small d of democracy. It really is how people can get together and connect with each other. It gives everybody's life, value, and it gives producers like yourself, who's been one of our longest time producers on MTN. It really gives you an opportunity to showcase people that are not on beyond the mainstream media. And what I've learned since I've been in this position now, just a couple months, I just got back from the Alliance of Community Media's conference, and what I've learned is, that we are the only local form of television that exists anymore. Our local news stations don't really feature people from our communities. If it bleeds, it leads, and and that's just really a snippet. In Minnesota, they probably give 7 minutes to weather, but not really too many opportunities for people in the community to be on television, to get their messages out.
There are sound bites for a few, but that's not.
But not the kind of in-depth program that you do, and Judy Carrero, and some of our other programs. We feature a Somali media station that is aired for the vast amount of Somali people in Minnesota and in Ohio, that kind of brings those communities together. We're doing the kinds of programming and giving people an opportunity to express it's a freedom of speech, it's to express their concerns, to inform each other, to inform communities.
Someone once said public access is like an electronic soapbox. I love that definition.
Right.
You also have here at MTN a lot of youth who are involved, and that is, I think, really important. Gives them a sense of power.
Well, we all have, they all have that video on their phones, but how do you really broaden that? Our 3 channels, 16, 17, and 75, really give us the ability to distribute this information broadly on those channels 24 hours, 7 days a week. We produce new programs like yours, as well as a vast array of other programs are on our channels. And then I think also the ability to use video on demand and all of those other kinds of things.
Which is a new feature here. To give you an example of some of the programs, we don't have time to show you a lot, but do you want to just set up? We're going to have a short clip, right? With some.
I mentioned our Somali media. Every Friday they broadcast live here and in St. Paul and in Ohio. They bring clips actually from Somalia, so it really brings those communities together. That's one really very cool thing I think that we do. We also have a program called In Familia, which is a Spanish speaking program. Currently we've got 14 young people that are producing media for those programs, that are learning how to do that on the weekends. For the last 6 weeks they've come in here and they're producing some stuff, so we're looking forward to showing that information. Black Lives Matter did street scenes, and of all the protests that they had, both at the governor's mansion and then they over at the precinct, all of that was aired. So a real vehicle for a lot of variety. The Mary Hanson show, of course, is filmed here. The Judy Carrero show, Viva and Jerry is probably the one that we're kind of also really known for. So quite an eclectic group of programs that we have on those 3 channels.
Well, we'll let you get a peek at some of these programs, just a short peek, but we'll come back after that and learn more about some of Tene's goals and strategic plans for MTN.
dedicaba un día a celebrar al general Emiliano Zapata, quien fue un héroe revolucionario del siglo XIX y mejor conocido como el caudillo del sur.
Blacks could not vote in the South since 1880. White women could not serve on juries. 18-year-olds could not vote. We couldn't vote on college campuses. We couldn't vote bilingually. We could not have proportional representation in elected officials. Say whenever we marched together, we won together. We won the right to vote for blacks, women on juries, 18-year-olds, vote on college campuses, vote bilingual. Whenever we come together, we have the power to take America forward.
Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I just want to say that I am proud that I have done a lot of math. He too have taught me a lot of good things. He taught me fractions, decimals, equations, and pre-algebra and algebra. So when I go to school tomorrow, I'm gonna be the best in the class.
It was fun to see that clip, and I don't think we'll have a chance to see any more clips, but I read too that the Minneapolis Children's Hospital worked with MTN with a
turtle race.
Fun turtle race, right?
We
so
covered
some
the
of
turtle
the things
races,
that are
right.
not going to make the, as you say, the
the
broadcast news.
The Northeast Parade,
coverage.
we've been covering
Right,
open
that's
streets.
very popular.
A couple of things I would say about our programming is that we want to do more of it, that actually we're looking for people that want to start their own program. We're looking for the new Mary Hanson show and what that might look like and how, those people might be able to come. And so we welcome people to come, and it doesn't take a lot to learn, and our crew is, of course, available to help with the productions of the program.
See, I think that's something people maybe have gotten hung up on. When I had a chance to have lunch with Tene recently, and we were talking about both of our thoughts that so many nonprofits and smaller organizations, or groups of lawyers or doctors, any kind of organization could really do well to get more of their information out via television.
Many of our sister stations really work very heavily with the nonprofit community, and we want to do more of that with small business communities, with the Central Avenue corridor, the Lake Street corridor, really to be able to take a crew out of our staff or volunteers or whoever and to really give them the social media tools that they need. I mean, do you have a really good clip of what you do on your website and those kinds of things? It's getting ready to be Give to the Max Day. You really need to be able to differentiate yourself in the marketplace. And MTN can do that. So we really want to expand.
So you can help these groups saying we've got people that can do some of the actual technical work, right?
Right. For not much, or we can train you. The other thing is, is that we can train people to be able to use the equipment and do the editing and those kinds of things. And so we really want to be an asset. We want to join our city council people again. We used to do that, and we used to do events for each one of this. They could pick an event that they wanted us to film in their ward, and we would go out and do that kind of thing. We've just a lot more of the content development and programming is really what we think is our advantage. One of the last things that I admit that I didn't know about the organization is 55% of the media that we produce is of people of African descent. So either African American or African immigrants. Our Channel 75 is like the Baptist television programs, even though we do have an atheist. I think we also have some Islamic and some other ones, but a lot, mostly every black church church in Minneapolis is on our Channel 75.
So 75 is mostly devoted to religious
It's
programming,
inspirational.
right?
It's an inspirational,
Right.
spiritual channel. Yeah.
You know, when you look ahead now to the next bunch of years, television is changing so fast because of all the other things going on technically. Do you think that poses a threat or an opportunity to MTN?
Well, I think it's absolutely an opportunity. I think we've had, however many years we've been in existence since 1984, and all of this time, and the support from the cable networks and the support from the city of Minneapolis through the agreement. Lots has been leveraged in the space and the equipment that we have. But we really need to up our game a little bit. This is an HD world we live in. It's a video on demand world that we live in, and we need to make sure that our producers are leveraging all of the media platforms that we have to be able to do that. And again, our advantage is we create content, and I want to see an MTN Netflix documentary. I want to see MTN at Sundance. I want that documentary, or for something that we produce here, to go viral in some kind of way. I mean, there's a lot of Josh Hartnett, who the actor was one of our teen students. I mean, so there's a lot of opportunity.
Through South High School, right?
Through South High. There's just a huge number of opportunities that I think that we have. We just need to market ourselves and make people aware of ourselves and invite people. We still can maintain the affordability that is very necessary to public access and to the marginalized populations that we serve. But I mean, to me, I think, it's infinite possibilities of what we can. And I've got great examples, as you look across the country at what I don't have to look across the country. All I have to do is go across the river and look at SPN. And they've been great allies of mine and have really tried to help me kind of understand what this is and what the possibilities could be.
And as I understand it, they've somehow gotten out from under having a huge percentage of their budget supported by the cable company. And we're still a little more dependent, aren't we?
We're quite dependent, but that's the plan. I think the board hired me because I'm a social entrepreneur. I know how to make money in the nonprofit sector. I know how to make nonprofits create their own assets, an earned income stream for the nonprofits, as well as to diversify with corporate and foundation and individual giving. And so that's the plan, is to, to get ourselves, our growth is out of our agreement with the city. We're grateful for what the city of Minneapolis has given us, but I think, all of these kind of entities, at some point in time, they have to grow up and they have to stand on their own 2 feet. We've got 5 years with this agreement that's still in existence from the original agreement, and I think in 5 years
we have
we'll
5
be
years
ready.
left.
Yeah.
And it was like a 25 or 30
I don't know what the years.
agreement, wasn't it? The relationship with City Council has been, as I've observed it, a little tricky at times.
Yeah.
You're reading right now of how they feel in terms of MTN with new leadership, and
we've had
you had a chance.
I had a little bumpy start. I think that there were some leftover issues with a few of our producers that I have found to be founded, and really have used those examples to really change the way we are. We want to be more welcoming, and again, and you'll appreciate this, I know. I mean, with a woman at the helm, that's why we need a woman at the helm. But as with a woman at the helm, the dynamics change. I mean, it was just as simple as putting a coffee pot in the front so that people could get a cup of coffee and put a donut out there every once in a while. I mean, those are the kinds of things that we just instinctively do. We're going to make this space more welcoming. We're going to bring in more people to be able to do that. And so we're going to grow. We learned from the past mistakes. I think the board really stepped up to the plate. But again, as a social entrepreneur, I was looking for this opportunity. I was looking for a nonprofit that needed to be turned around. That's what I do. And they were that nonprofit that allowed me that said, yeah, this is exactly what we want to do. And we've got we just last week launched our strategic directive, and we're now putting some meat on that.
And can we find that? Can viewers find that by going to the website?
They won't find the strategic plan on the website yet, but they will pretty soon.
It will be on.
It'll be
And
on.
maybe by the time we're ready to air, we'll
Maybe,
be on.
hopefully, by the time you're ready to. In the next couple of weeks, the board had a couple of, we retweaked our mission statement, and we've got a couple of other things that they still have to vote on in the next week. But soon as they do that, and we get ready to do that, by the end of the month, when we go talk to the city about our funding, we'll be up and running. We're going to rebrand ourselves a little bit so people kind of know who we are, and we're going to get on all of our programs. I mean, we don't even do very much in terms of advertising even on our programs with a little blurb that we would like you to put on in the future. And all of those kinds of things tell people who we are.
This all sounds very, very good to me.
Yeah.
If you want to learn more about the strategic plan soon, or just learn more about Tene, about the services, the training, the things going on here, programming, of course, you can just go to the website, www.mtn.org, and it's really a very informative website. To close, we've just got a few seconds left. Would you like to read the mission statement? Because I think it's so, I think it's just such a good description.
I'm using one that's a little marked up, but our mission is to really operate a media center. We want this to be a 21st century media center that provides our local producers and residents of Minneapolis with the skills to increase social and civic economic equality, and also for the freedom of expression via community media, which we believe is a transformative art of creating and broadcasting media. My board chair will say that I butchered that a little bit, but really, I think the gist of it is that we want to increase people's engagement, both socially and civically, and economic equity, and you can do that through media.
Media is powerful. Thank you so much for coming down. It's been great to have a chance to sit and let you tell us some of your vision. It's very exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us. I'll be back again next week. Until then, have a good week.